Welcome, everybody, to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining us, hanging out, having a beer with us on this lovely day. I'm Tim Dennis. Brian Hewitt, how is it going?
Not bad, not bad. You know what?
Right.
You know what really changes everything? A few good nights of decent sleep.
It's magical, Brian.
Right? I have been much more laid back. I'm like, oh yeah, I used to be a lot like this back when I slept well. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm great. I'm actually really good today, surprisingly.
That's excellent to hear.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
How are you, Tim?
I'm fine. I'm not going to get crazy like you with all this wild, I'm doing great stuff and all that, you know.
I didn't have a lot of sleep. I just had really good. Like when I woke up, I'm like, I actually got under 6 hours last night, but I'm like, man, I feel good. It was good sleep. I don't know how that happened. Maybe as I get older, I'll get more efficient with sleep, and I'll only need like 3 hours, and it'll just be amazing sleep. That'd be crazy.
I don't know about that, but that would be nice. I don't think that's the way it works. I think it goes the other way around. So, like my dad is 86 years old now, and no matter when I call, it's like he's taking a nap. He's taking a nap. He's laying down. So I mean, I think they become like a cat. It's like he's up for 4 hours to eat and use the bathroom, and then 20 hours of sleep. So
they call that polyphasic sleep, Tim. So your dad is actually cutting edge for like about the mid 2000s when that was a hot thing. That was I read about that. I was fascinated by it, but you can't have any kind of a social life with it. You're supposed to sleep every 2 hours for like some ridiculous short period of time, like 30 minutes or something like that. But you do that every 2 hours. So you're up for a lot of time. And apparently it works, but I don't know.
Sometime now that you mentioned that was a sleep concept I was not aware of. But I saw something that I believe it was in the Middle Ages, that it was common to go to bed like fairly early in the evening, and you would sleep for like 4 hours and then get up and do things for 3 or 4 hours and then sleep again. So, rather than getting like 8 hours of sleep and just going about your day, you get up and do stuff. Now, I need to verify that because I think about the fact that, I don't know how good the lighting was back then. What could you do at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. or what have you? But maybe so. And I also know that it was big, agriculture in that then. So I'm sure a lot of people were, getting up with the sunrise. I don't know. I will say that I thought that was interesting that they slept in kind of a 2-a-day kind of cycle. And that's interesting.
I've heard people say that's the natural way of doing it. And that was called the night watch, I think like people would socialize during that period of time. I think it's basically the sun went down, people went to bed, and then they woke up in the middle of the night. They hung out for a bit, and apparently, and I don't know if this is true, they'd get together, they'd socialize. People would come over, they might have a drink and play some cards or something, whatever they did in the Middle Ages for fun. And then they would just, it's like, okay, it's time to turn in. They go back to bed for another, like 4 hours, hang out for 2 hours, then go back to bed for another 4 hours. So I guess if you do it right, that works out. So you're waking up with the sun in the wee hours of the morning.
I guess so. Yeah.
I guess moderately refreshed from that. I don't know. I don't know how worn out they were.
Interesting, and totally different here, but also something interesting. Like, of course, everybody does this. Your normal is normal to you. Whatever's normal in your life, you consider that normal. And that everybody lives that way. I remember being a kid I grew up in the Midwest and moved to Mississippi, and we didn't eat corn muffins when I was a kid. And the first week I was in Mississippi, the neighbor kid invited me over for dinner. And we sat down and they put a basket of biscuits and corn muffins on the table with dinner. And I looked at the corn muffin. I'm like, well, what is this? Let me tell you that a 6-year-old, a sixth grader or fifth or sixth grader who thinks that everybody in the world has eaten cornbread, that kid thought I was just insane, just the dumbest person on the face of the earth. So because I didn't know that. Yeah. Anyhow. Well, Brian, moving along here with some beer talk, man. What are your beers of the week?
Yeah, so I pre-gamed with a bit of a throwback, Old Nation's Flat Brain, which is a red IPA. And I realized drinking it that's not I know that was a style that people talked about maybe making a comeback at some point in time, or maybe they were joking about it. But when I drank this, I'm like, wow, this takes me back to like a long time ago, way back before beers were hazy and juicy and all that sort of thing. It's very much a beer of history at this point in time. It's good though. I remember really enjoying these, but some nice maltiness to it, but also some of the bitter West Coast edge to it as well. So a very nice beer, very enjoyable.
What was the popular red ale? I mean, there was one, it was a macro, but
like Killian's or something like that, or
well, I get, Killian's was not the one I was thinking of, but I guess that would have been Killian's Irish Red. There was, wasn't there one called Red Dog?
Was Red,
something like that?
Was Red Dog an actual IPA, or was that like malt liquor?
No, I think that may have just been. I'm trying to Google here as we're looking at this, and I think there was, but I'm not sure. I know there was the here we go.
Beer Snob Sean says it was Red Dog. So
there we go. See, thanks, Sean. Yeah, thanks. That's what I thought. I remember Red Dog being a thing, and that was Red Dog was hot around the time that ice beers were a thing too.
You know what? I may have I was aware of it, but I don't know if I ever had one. If you can believe it, somehow I don't think I ever had one. So that's why I was thinking it's like, well, that might be a malt liquor. I just assumed it was. I think back in those days, I'm like, I'm not going to have that. But also,
I think still around. Sean, Beer Snob Sean, do you know if Red Dog is still around? We may have to hunt that down, Brian, just to take a little '90s nostalgia trip.
Yeah, if that still exists, I'll check it out. But I was living in Portland, Oregon, so I was like, I'm not gonna drink whatever the heck that is. I'm just drinking the stuff that's made in this place I'm hanging out in. So yeah,
sure.
I don't think I ever had one, to be honest.
Okay,
so,
all right. Maybe we can rectify it. We'll see what we can do.
Oh, but anyway, yes. Moving right along, I am working on another kind of throwback beer, Lagunitas Hop Stupid. If you remember that was one of the IBU wars beers from that period of time where everything needed massive IBUs, and it's a double IPA. It is 102 IBUs, so they're still doing that. It is massively dry hopped these days. I don't know if it was back in the day, but it's good. It tastes West Coasty, like a good West Coasty double IPA. It's got a little dankness to it, so a little hint of some aromatic weediness to it. That's good. It's if you enjoy that style, if you appreciate the West Coast bitterness in that particular style, you like the old school stuff, which is crazy to think about that being old school, but
right.
Yeah, I like that. And later on with the Patreon folks in the after party, I will be getting into an AleSmith rum barrel aged old numbskull, which I think came out last year. It's an American barley wine, which I know you'll love, Tim. Aged in rum barrels in celebration of AleSmith's 30th anniversary. And I was stoked to see this. I don't even remember where I got it, to be honest, but happy to have it. I've never had it before, so I'm looking forward to getting into that. It's going to be a beast, but I think I can handle it.
It's quite a hoppy week for you, Brian.
It is.
You lots of hops this week.
Yeah, you know what? I'm feeling the hops.
All right, It happens, man. I saw something browsing around some stories, and I don't know how long these have been out, and can't remember. I don't remember ever using them. When we brewed, Brian, they weren't around, but there are either hop-derived or botanical extracts that are made to be added to finished beer, and most of them are fruit. Like they bring fruit components to it. And there was one that was like a pineapple medley. Another one was a mango medley, and things like that was meant to be added. Not something you put like in your beer, but it sounded like you could. That was the whole point of them, was to be put into a finished product. But they were talking about usage levels like by the barrel. You use this much per milliliter, and they were saying I think they said 5 to 6 milliliters per barrel was typical on that. But it's from Haas, the hop company. So this isn't some second rate kind of thing. But they're called Euphorics, and they have a couple different series. But one they've got here, a cloud lime, brings flavors of fresh key lime zest to it. They've got one called Hypnotropic that is tropical fruit, cantaloupe, tart berry, and bubble gum. Of course, you got to have a mango in there, a dark berry in that. But Brian, have you ever heard of these? Are you familiar with any brewers that use these?
No, I'm not. What's the official name of them again?
So it's from Haas, Haas, and it is Euphorics is what it's called.
Euphorics. No,
Euphorics. No. And then they call it their Lush series and their Vibe series. And the Vibe series, so the Lush series is from various botanicals. The Vibe series is hop oil emulsions. Excuse me. No, I mixed it up a little bit. The Vibe series is hop oil emulsions and botanical extracts. The Euphorics Vibe series creates complex, expressive flavors that add depth, intrigue, Brian, and a distinctive sensory twist to beer and beverages. And they have a frosted fruits flavor, a moonlit dark berry, a copa colada, hypnotropic that we talked about, diesel delight, and cosmic guava. So
diesel delight.
Yeah. And that's the other one is the Lush series, and the Lush series is a single fruit expression. So it sounds like the Lush is just to go for a single fruit there, and then the Vibe does a little medley for you on that. So, but
while you were looking into that, I actually looked into the Red Dog to find out if it was still around, and apparently it was hot in 1994, and it was discontinued as of early 2021. So it's been off the market for like enough time that would be classic, like 25 years. So yeah.
That was was that Red Dog, Brian?
That was Red Dog. Yeah, Molson Coors. Okay. That was a Molson Coors product. So yeah, it was a hot thing for a while in the 90s. And I guess I kind of missed the heyday for that. So yeah.
Okay. Well, that's too bad. That's too bad, Brian. Maybe we can find you a vintage bottle. I'm sure that's one that ages really well.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be great. Yeah. Looking forward to that.
Good stuff, man. Well, y'all, Nate is out on assignment this week. He's down in Texas, I think he said he had to do. He's got some work down there. So as you just got to deal with me and Brian this week. That's the way it's going to be. And Brian, we are going to start off our stories with one. I'm sick of hearing about this guy. And to be honest, I think a lot of people probably are, but we do think that it's news. And I think people are disgustedly interested in it. To get to the point here, James Watt is back. James Watt, BrewDog, he's back. He's starting another brewery for some darn reason. Brian, tell us why on earth and what this man is doing.
Yeah, he's kind of a walking dumpster fire. You like, what is it? Reality TV. You can't stop looking, even though you know it's just no good. But yeah. So like you said, the former head honcho BrewDog, he's getting back into brewing. His new venture is officially named Second Best Brewing, or just Second Best. I don't know if it's only brewing, but Watt is planning to build a top-tier craft beer company that is collectively owned by its community. Sound familiar? This, of course, comes right on the heels of the spectacular downfall of BrewDog, which is once valued at over $1 billion, but collapsed under a massive mountain of debt. Tilray stepped in to buy up the majority of BrewDog's assets worldwide. And so whatever's still out there is now Tilray. Reportedly, Watt also tried to buy the company outright, probably with the help of some investors, but he was ultimately unsuccessful. Famously, the equity for Punk's crowdfunding investors were left empty-handed after BrewDog sold. That crowdfunding program brought in a significant amount of money, around 75 million pounds for the company, or about $100 million US, roughly. And now, with this new company, Second Best, Watt is trying to make that right. Apparently, this is what he's saying. He's reserving 19.3% of the new company for the original equity for Punk's investors. They will be able to claim the exact stake that they had in BrewDog in the new company. Not only that, he emphasizes that original investors won't have to put up any of their own cash to claim these stakes. And he says they're going to be, I guess, full-on stockholders in this. Don't look for Second Best beers to be on the shelves anytime soon. The official launch date, isn't set because the company is still waiting on the required licensing and approvals. But there was some comment in one of the articles I read about some interesting alcohol adjacent concept, and that was a quote that he's working on in the meantime. So he might try to push something out into the market before that. But I kind of wonder how many former equity for Punk's investors are actually going to take him up on this offer. And I kind of wonder if there's going to be some kind of a catch to this, because With James Watt, it seems like there's always going to be something that you didn't expect. There's some kind of catch to it.
It's gold plated. It's not solid gold there.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
So, first of all, if I remember correctly, the Equity for Punks folks, they just basically got shut out.
Oh, yeah.
They got nothing. So, if he's going to convert them over, they have nothing to lose there. So, of course, they're going to get on that. I'd love to hear if anybody is excited for this, is looking forward to this happening, is, a fan. You know what? I know BrewDog does have its fans. They grew, pretty big for a while. I've got my opinion from following them and seeing the news and kind of the weird things they did and all that. And they just always struck me as shady, always. So,
yeah.
And I'll be honest, more James Watt than the other guy. I think that was because Watt was the one out in front, running his trap quite as much, but who knows?
He was the marketing fuel, the fire behind it. The other dude was like, if you enjoyed the beer, the other dude was making the beer and he was quiet about it. And he just, I don't know if he's ever said much of anything publicly. He just stepped away. He just got out. Like he made, and I had a few of their beers over the years. He made decent beer, or like it came up with recipes that other people made by the time I had it. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's fine. My thought is if you did have those stakes and you can prove it, go get it and wait for an opportunity to sell it off and get your money back,
I
or
guess
get
so, man.
some amount of your money back. I don't have a lot of, I don't believe the guy's really going to make it go, but maybe he will. Who knows? I could be completely crazy. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah. Let's see, man. I mean, I don't know what to think of it. It doesn't sound to me like something that would excite anybody, but maybe I'm wrong. We'll see what goes on. Maybe he's got more fans than I realize. There are definitely people out there that just don't strike me right, and other people absolutely love him. So, it could be, he may have his fan base that are going to be absolutely thrilled, get in there and make it happen. I guess we'll see. Time will tell, Brian. Time will tell.
As it does.
Tyler asked, were any of their beers that good? I never had one that impressed, that wowed me. I had some that were fine. They did several gimmick beers that really was just more about the experience of trying the beer.
Sink the Bismarck, and was that the one with the
nuclear penguin?
Yeah,
was another one,
stuff like that. Yeah, those were fine. Elvis Juice was fine. I think I had that a few times. They had a competitor to Guinness. It was a dry Irish stout. It was okay. It was fine. I mean, it didn't make me stop drinking Guinness, but I guess they hoped it would. So
they had their brew pub here in Atlanta, which I don't know if we ever mentioned it on the show, but it closed not long after the sale, not long after everything, went on with that. I actually heard there's some pop-up in there now, something, because it's a fairly large space in an expensively, what's the word? When they upgrade a neighborhood.
Gentrified.
Gentrified. So it's expensive real estate in the gentrified area.
Yeah.
So anyhow, there's something there. But anyhow, I went in there once and it was a very mediocre experience. The service wasn't that good. The food was mediocre. The beer was okay. And with as many good choices as we have, even in just the area that it was in, there was a lot of good choices. Like across the street,
I was going to say, was it a pretty decent crowd in there? I think I recall from being in there one time. It was okay. Yeah,
it was fairly busy. I mean, and again, like I said, it was a large space, so they did okay considering.
They probably needed to have that place filled up a lot to pay off the bills for that. But yeah. But that was from a different era when everybody expected 20% growth every year forever, and that just it just isn't happening. It's like this, You can't,
but that place was really busy on weekends, and I know I went. I'm sure it was you and I, Brian, that went there. I don't remember
probably,
for sure, but a good chance of it. But they were busy. But we are talking a Saturday afternoon, nice weather Saturday afternoon. And those places to keep the doors open, they got to do that all week, and I'm just not sure that they would have Saturday afternoon crowds all week long. Obviously not, or they wouldn't have closed. So. Yeah,
and in that area, there's a lot of foot traffic, and I think that, as I recall, the time I was there, they had a good amount of people there. But I mean, it wasn't packed, it wasn't packed out. So like they definitely had room for it. I think if they were going to be really successful in a place like that with that kind of operating cost, I would think that we need to be packed out on a weekend.
Yeah.
And then maybe like decent business throughout the week. But I don't know. I didn't check.
Who knows, man?
I have no idea.
Who knows? Well, Brian, more rumors about a brewery we do care about. And like Anchor, there are some more rumors and speculation. There has not been any shortage of those since they closed their doors. But what is the latest here?
Yeah, this one's got some teeth to it, I think. There's some pictures in the article from the San Francisco Chronicle that shows people that are actually repair worker, like outfits, construction type of outfits on the property. But anyway, yeah, so it's been 2 years since San Francisco's legendary Anchor Brewing was rescued by the billionaire founder of Chobani Yogurt. I keep wanting to say Chobani Restaurant for some reason, but Chobani Yogurt. 2 long years because there's been nothing but radio silence ever since. The silence continues, but there are signs of life on the Anchor Brewing campus. And these rumors swirling about what exactly is happening and what it means. The boots on the ground at Anchor Brewing do not belong to the former employees, according to rumors, even though in the early days after buying Anchor, Hamdi Ulukaya, I believe that's the name of the owner of Chobani, promised to rehire as many of the original Anchor employees as possible. Many of those former employees have moved on with their lives after a complete lack of communication. So that doesn't seem to be happening, at least not yet. The first signs of activity go all the way back to 2024 when noxious fumes were coming from the brewery, and that had people thinking that Anchor was dumping gallons and gallons of old beer to get ready to brew new beer. Turns out that was just sediments that had collected at the bottom of the brewery's wastewater system, which was not cleaned out or even decommissioned or anything like that after the brewery shut down. It was just sitting there getting funky. But it does seem likely that some of the activity seen on site now is related to that and cleaning that out. And there are other necessary repairs to the old facility, including people were spotted with they're like vans spotted that do refrigeration work, and others that do like rehab and painting and that kind of thing. So stuff is happening. But apparently there's a bunch of I think I've got the screens up so you can't actually see what's going on. You have to like stick a camera through a chain link fence to try to get a picture of what they're doing in there. But the biggest rumor right now is that Anchor has reportedly brought on Sean O'Sullivan as a brewing consultant. And Sean O'Sullivan is a local legend and one of the founders of 21st Amendment Brewing. He's got 3 decades of brewing experience. He's local, and he's no longer running 21st Amendment, so he's available, and he's a really good choice for them. So this makes sense. And some more good news that was surfaced in this article, the Anchor's longtime quality assurance manager, Andrea DeVries, never actually left. She's been there for nearly 30 years, and she stayed on as a consultant during this whole time. And she was also apparently promoted to Director of Brewing and Logistics early in 2025. So things are happening behind the scenes. And in February of 2025, Hamdi Ulukaya did get a permit to produce beer from California's beverage control, so they can make beer now if they want to. And because the historic facility sat empty for so long, getting everything back up and running is probably going to be a massive undertaking, according to the article. Local beer insiders guesstimate that because they're taking their time, we shouldn't expect to see the brewery up and running until like 2027 or earlier or later. So there are also rumors of TTB label approvals for Anchor Steam kegs and for old Foghorn barley wine bottles. So interesting. So they're getting that ready. So I guess the first offerings coming out of Anchor when they do open will be you'll get Anchor on tap and you'll get old Foghorn barley wine bottles. So yeah, interesting choice there, but cool.
So I think something interesting to note here is probably all this information is just from the Sherlock homeboys out there, you know, sure. Making Sherlock their speculations. Yeah, making their speculations, which is great. I mean, they've got there's a refrigeration van there, there's a painting van there, there's this, there's that, you know. So it definitely does sound like there's fact that there's stuff going on, you know, behind the scenes there, getting Sean O'Sullivan and you know, they kept Andrea on there. So we'll see. It's interesting to watch this one. This is one I'm kind of curious to see what's going on. And I will say this, with the history that Anchor had and the uproar when they closed, you wouldn't want to say anything you couldn't deliver on because people are all over.
True.
That. So
yeah.
if they're behind the scenes quietly doing their thing, trying to get it together to make sure they can do it right. And now, Brian, I don't remember if this rumor was verified or not, or if it was debunked, but wasn't there some talk one time about them potentially doing some contract brewing or having some of their beers contract brewed?
Yeah, that was part of I think it's an American Craft Beer website article that was generated by AI.
That's
and
part of that.
Misquoted.
Okay. Gotcha.
It actually said they were leaving town, and AI came up with a crazy thing, and they posted it.
Yeah.
And the San Francisco Chronicle came out and debunked it too. They reported that that's baloney. And even though the owners of Anchor have been silent, they actually commented on it and said, no, that is not happening. So they got out in front of that. So that's definitely not happening. They're not moving. They are not contract brewing. So yeah, as far as I can tell, like that seems to be definitely not happening. So
let's let the king of yogurt do his thing. Let's see what he comes up with. We'll stay tuned for the next story and keep everybody posted as much as we can.
One of the things they pointed out is a lot of the organizations, the companies that do this kind of stuff, like they're big ones. One of them, I think the one that does refrigeration was one that the Chobani has worked with before. So it's one that actually counts. So it's like that's obviously a thing. And one of them was, there's another one that does, I think brewery design, and they work for Sierra Nevada and have worked for Anchor before, and they were seen on site. So they're getting some serious heavy hitters in there to do some work on the place. But yeah, they're not in a hurry, man. Not at all.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens, man. We'll stay tuned for the updates. All right, Brian, moving on with some more brewery news, more in line with a lot of the other stuff we've been hearing lately. Negative news. Voodoo Brewing. They've got an interesting franchise model. So they franchise out locations. We have one here in the Atlanta suburbs in Roswell, Georgia. And but the chain as a whole, and it's a little complex the way it works. So there's a Voodoo Brewing Company, the organization, and then the franchises. And I did see that the franchisees shouldn't be impacted here by this. But the Voodoo Brewing Company is taking a, quote, complete loss.
Yeah, this is a crazy one. Because of the model, it's kind of interesting. So, yeah, Voodoo Brewing Company has entered into a massive deal to sell off basically all of its operating assets to a completely new ownership entity. The brewery sent out an email related to the sale, giving investors bad news. The impending sale means that the shares they hold now are effectively useless. So, that's interesting. Shares are useless. What do you mean? So this development is a sharp pivot away from Voodoo's aggressive marketing in the recent years. They heavily pushed for crowdsourcing funding to build out a national franchise pub model. So you kind of see what's going on here. They invited local loyal customers, friends, and family to become financial stakeholders via specialized crowdfunding platforms. So Voodoo Brewing blames a perfect storm of industry headwinds for the situation, including changing consumer habits. These are things we've all heard before, by the way. Soaring operation costs, tight capital market, and intense competition. Because of how the deal is set up as an asset sale, the new owners have absolutely no obligation to convert, replace, or honor the original investment shares from the crowdsourcing people. The board has advised participants in the crowdfunding of Voodoo Brewing to declare their investments as a total loss for financial and tax planning purposes. However, it was noted that there is a vague general intent to, quote, explore potential profit sharing, unquote, for past investors once the new entity achieves stability, but again, no promises or timelines for that. On the other hand, the actual Voodoo brand, tap rooms, and franchise network are expected to survive because the new ownership group has injected capital to stabilize those operations. So I'm getting crazy deja vu reading this. Something about getting customers to fund your brewery expansion in exchange for equity, in air quotes, and then leaving them with nothing when you sell the business. Why does that sound so familiar?
Times are wild, Brian. Times are wild.
Yeah, what? No idea. I have no idea. There's obviously no other stories this week that have any kind of relationship to that. So this is, anyway.
Yeah, totally unrelated, man. Totally unrelated.
Completely nothing like the first story we talked about.
It's something, Brian. These places really have a tough go of things. A a franchise modeled brew pub, a chain brew pub. They just have a tough go. We talked about Iron Hill recently.
Yeah.
And, we've got Voodoo Brewing, and I know that the craft beer drinkers are a small part of the overall beer drinking community, but I think places like Voodoo, they're going for the craft drinkers. They're not going for the everyman, at least from their beer program there. So they did stuff like on our local beer Reddit, ATL Beer subreddit. The folks from Voodoo are active on there. They come on there, they talk about what they've got coming on tap, and that. There was one time when they asked the folks on the subreddit to vote on what keg they tapped next. And one of them was like a Van Winkle barrel aged imperial stout, like 6-year-old Van Winkle aged beer. If it had been any other brewery, people would have been very excited for it. No one cared. No one gave them. So they kind of shun them. And I mean, props to the folks at Voodoo for trying to get in the community, build some excitement, be part of that. The folks at Iron Hill did the same thing. We've got one of our Patreon supporters, Matthew, that lives up in Pennsylvania area, where Iron Hill is a local brewery for the most part. And he was talking about how, it stung to see them get closed, because that was their local, watering hole up there. So, it's always a tough go. And I don't think they do great in many markets, but Atlanta especially, they're not big into change, especially when it comes to beer. I mean, we had World of Beer didn't make it here. No. Gordon Biersch closed down way before it was cool to close down.
They were ahead of the times.
Yeah, they're trendsetters with that. So
we were closed before it was cool.
That's right, man. But we just haven't had a place like that. Iron Hill came in here. For those that are of the ancient age, which Brian, you're coming up really close to being ancient. You know what, everybody?
Yes.
Brian's turning 50. Brian's got a birthday coming up. He's hitting the big 50. So wish him a happy birthday. Half a century, Brian, if you're not aware. That's how old.
Crazy. I haven't made it yet. It's still time.
It's close, man. It's close. But for old people like you, do you remember Hops Brew Pub? That was around here? Or was that before your time?
No, I was aware of it, and I went looking for it. I think it had just closed down right around the time that I had come into the area, because it was one up in Alpharetta, and I went looking for it, and it wasn't there, but something like a pizza chain had replaced it. And I never found it. I was excited because it actually wasn't too far away from the place I first lived when I was here. I was like, cool, a brew pub. Like, this will be like Portland. I'm like, sadly, no. It was definitely nothing like Portland for a lot of years. So
it was close to my office, and we did lunches there a good bit. They had really good rolls. I remember that. We had one guy that worked with us that he'd eat like an entire basket of rolls himself. But they didn't make it. Obviously, they're gone. So, but yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough.
But honestly, speaking of both Iron Hill and Voodoo, both of them have, when I went there, pretty good beer. Like, if you're interested in beer, I get it. You only have so much money. You're going to spend at places that, more craft and more local, that kind of thing. I get it. But honestly, with Voodoo, I think the owners are local people. Like, the staff,
they are.
It's a franchise. So it's local. It's like they bought the name and the rights and all that stuff, but they're the ones making the beer, I think, is how that works. So I don't know. I thought they were good,
Yeah. And I've been to Voodoo twice, and both times, both the service the beer and the food were all solid. So, that was one thing we've talked about many times before. With Iron Hill, they couldn't deliver on service. But that was a problem. Voodoo's been good.
Yeah.
So y'all, if you've got a Voodoo in your area, they're going to be owned by local folks. So you're supporting local there. Go out and check them out. They're worth it for us. For our Georgia boys, if you haven't been over to the Voodoo in Roswell, go say hi to them. So, I'm sure a lot of you, it's just around the corner. It's probably your neighborhood brewery for quite a few people. So,
good chance of it.
Give them a chance. Give them a shot, man. Give them a shot. Well, Brian, before we move on, how about we give a shout out to another one of our great local places that we love seeing open and doing well, Truck and Tap.
Local all over the place. They've got so many locations. Four locations plus place over in the Battery. That's also theirs. Yeah. Yeah. Right.
They
anyway.
do. Yeah.
Yeah. We haven't been over the battery in a minute, but anyway, let me get into it. As a lover of both craft beer and coffee, one thing I really appreciate about Truck and Tap, who we've been talking about here, is how well represented coffee is on their taps. This week especially, do you enjoy a good coffee beer? Well, every Truck and Tap location this week has Coffee Cake Break from Six Bridges on tap. And if you need a little pick-me-up after a few beers and some food from the day's food truck, which you should definitely check out, every location also has a cold brew coffee on tap as well. And it's not the same coffee. They get them from, I think they get them from roasters that are local to that location. So the Woodstock location has from Woodstock Coffee Roasters. And I think like there's a Batdorf and Bronson over at Lawrenceville. I was looking at it, it's like, oh, cool. They have different varieties and getting coffee from different sources. So kind of neat. But I'm not going to make this all about coffee, though. I'm going to make this all about IPA because Truck and Tap has some IPA bangers this week. Let me tell you about them in a little something I like to call my Truck and Tap beer picks for the week. At Truck and Tap Woodstock, I'm going with Country Boy's Hazy Jumper. Hazy Jumper is a New England IPA with Mosaic, Citra, and Centennial hops, and that's a great combination of hops. You know that if you've been drinking IPAs for any period of time. I don't know a lot about this beer or the brewery. I did find out they were from Kentucky, but the ratings seem good, so I'm going to give this one a shot. And, I love interesting new beers. At the Duluth location, I'm getting broccoli from Other Half because it's important to get your greens in, Tim. Broccoli is, as you might expect, one of the many comically named IPAs from Other Half, a double IPA, in fact, with lots of wheat, oats, strata hops, Nelson Sauvin, Mosaic, and Simcoe, plus a bunch of lupulin powder to make sure you got the point that there are hops in this thing. So I've had this one before. I enjoy it. I think I've got one in my fridge, in fact, right now, and I would be happy to have another one, especially on tap. At Truck and Tap Alpharetta, my pick is Square in a Circle in a Square, which is a mind twister, but that's from Hop Butcher. I've also had this New England IPA before. It features Citra, anchovy, and crush hops. And despite the name, anchovy hops are not fishy at all or marine-like in character. They're said to impart a watermelon hard candy, bright raspberry, and melon flavors to a beer. So I've had it. I don't recall getting watermelon hard candy, but now I need to go buy another one and see if I get that. And finally, at the Lawrenceville location, I'm going with Heavy Seas Loose Cannon. This is just a good old American IPA, leaning more West Coast in the flavor profile. You can expect notes of grapefruit, herbs, pine, some bitterness, and some floral qualities. It's been around a long time, too. It's like 15 years as far as I can tell, maybe even longer. But if you've never had one, now is the time. So there you have my beer picks for the week. Get out there and enjoy a beer or two. As always, if you'd like to see the full tap list before stopping by, take a look at truckandtap.com. The taps do change quickly, and you never know what great new beer might go on. And if you'd like to see what the food trucks are serving and what events are happening, your trivia, your karaoke, your cocktail specials, your live music, all that kind of thing, you can find that at truckandtap.com. Everything you need to know can be found at truckandtap.com, so check that out. And thank you to Truck and Tap for your support.
Thank you, Truck and Tap. We appreciate it. Brian, if you don't get the watermelon candy flavor in that beer, you could always go the Zima route with and just chuck you a Jolly Rancher.
Oh, that's a really good idea. I haven't done that in a while. Yeah.
Then you'll get that flavor there for sure. Well, Brian, some fun news. I absolutely love beer archaeology and anything around finding old beers, old brewing equipment, all that. So we've got a new tidbit out here, Brian, that archaeologists found an ancient bottle of beer.
They did. They did. How old is the oldest beer in your cellar, Tim?
I think I've got some from the late 90s.
Oh, okay. Wow. I
have some 99. Probably 99ers, I think.
Oh, nice.
So 25 years, probably. I've got and I think we both do. Actually, I know we do because I saw some of your notes here. The Van de Kaiser Blau. At one point, I was trying to get like every vintage of that one. So I'm pretty sure I've got a 2000 of that one in the set.
I also have a 2000 of that.
Yeah.
That's 26-year-old. And as I recall, I found a place that had bottles of 2000. It was weird. Like they'd found stuff in the back of the like the garage or the pack room, whatever, the storage. They brought them out and they put them on the shelf. Like, these beers have been back there for some reason. Like, I guess the former person running the beer department had them squirreled away for whatever reason, maybe to sell them to special customers or something like that. But he put them on the shelf. So I got, I think, 2000 in like 2027 or 2028 or something in that range. So I had of varying years, but yeah, a 26-year-old Cuvée Van de Kaiser Blau. So I haven't had it in a few years. I need to try it again. But yeah, that's pretty old. That's really old. But the lambics and goose that we love definitely age well, and that's I remember us going to the Porter Beer Bar in 2019 for their anniversary party, and they had some 1999 Dry Fontaine. Yeah, and that was amazing. We drank it next to the same year, like the 2019.
Yeah. So we had a 20-year-old bottle and a fresh bottle. That was good times. So yeah. Anyhow, Brian, on with your story, sir.
That was very good times, and the older one really was better, even after that other time. Nice.
I thought it was very interesting to see how similar but different they were. Like, you could tell that this was the same beer, but you could definitely tell the aging in the older one. So it was a fun experience all around, and two delicious beers.
Yeah, it was good stuff. But so those are pretty old. But a bottle found at an archaeological dig in China recently is nearly 100 times as old as the beers we're talking about, which is nuts. The beer is older than the Roman Empire, and it's completely intact. In fact, the bronze bottle is still holding around 15 cups of 2,300-year-old beer. And I did some Googling. Apparently, it's around a gallon in size, so it's missing maybe a cup. So there might be a little evaporation, or maybe it was never the whole way full. But they've dated the beer to between 547 and 221 BC, which is right in the middle of the historic Qin state period. I think I'm saying that right. It's Qin. I think it's pronounced Qin. I think they're the ones that unified China. But anyway, to make sure that they weren't just looking at an ancient puddle water that had leaked into a jar, scientists did some extensive analysis. They analyzed the odorless, pale blue-green liquid, and they revealed it contained more than 2,400 unique chemical compounds, and it was not formed by accident. All the evidence points to it being an alcoholic beverage. Before analyzing the contents, the researchers had a definite hint that the bottle contained alcohol right from the get-go. It was decorated in the art typically used for bottles of alcohol during that period. And it wasn't a fruit wine either. It was a complex grain beer. The residue showed specific mash profile of proso millets. I don't know what that is, but it's a form of millet, wheat, and barley, as well as 8,571 yeast cells. It's a lot of yeast cells from that period of time.
I don't think it is, but I mean, relatively speaking, sounds like it though.
For them to be found and from a beer that old, maybe not. I don't know. I'm not sure how much wild.
Were they viable? I'm assuming not.
I don't think so, but they found evidence of them. But they speculate that may indicate that they were using a very effective yeast starter in their brewing process. And if they were using a yeast starter, that's pretty advanced for the time period.
That is very cool.
So this combination of grain with a fermentation starter, which they speculate was happening, represents a unique brewing technique from the Qin people that hasn't been found elsewhere in historical writings so far. So there's no support for this even existing elsewhere. So how did a liquid that's 2,300 years old, how did that survive without evaporating? The ancient brewers used a local double-layered sealing trick that I guess was popular in the time. They stuffed the neck of the bottle with fabric, and then they plastered a mixture of mud and organic materials right over the top of that. And apparently the two together created a fantastic seal. The cemetery where the beer was found had 183 tombs, and it was meant for everyday people, soldiers and regular civilians. So we're not talking about kings here. Seeing such an advanced beer in a normal tomb means that good beer wasn't just for kings, it was widely accessible. Now, I did see elsewhere that the beer may have been very much on the sourish side. I don't know. It may not have been beer like we think about it, but it was definitely a very complicated beverage. Complex with their ingredients. Yeah.
I think most beer before we discovered, yeast and cultures and all that, it's pretty well believed there was some tartness there.
Probably. Yeah.
So, but yeah, if they were using a starter culture, I think people learned that taking some of your old beer, or like the true, taking the dregs from your old beer and putting it in your new beer got your new beer going. I think they figured that out long before they knew why that worked.
Is that called krausening? Is that what that is? I forget what the term is.
I forget. I actually forget what the word krause.
Yeah, I think that was. I think that's like taking from active fermentation and pitching that onto the next thing to get it going.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, in a way, that's a yeast starter. I mean, that's you're basically using the previous brew, but if they're doing that, they're not isolating cells, so they're taking whatever they got. So I assume that whatever the house was that was making it had their own particular strain of things. So
I wonder if they dove into this enough to be able to create a recipe. That you can do the GCMS on that, the gas chromatography mass spectrometry. GCMS, Brian, but I know that it'll tell the compounds in there. They might be able to do that. Monday Night Brewing did that one time.
They did, yeah.
What was it? High Low? Is that the name, or
something like that?
I forget the name of the beer.
I think it was a college student that had researched.
It was like a college research program, right? Yeah.
So they know what grains are in there, and they have yeast cells, so they may be able to identify what the yeast were. I don't know. I wouldn't imagine those are viable now, but they might be able to identify them and be able to replicate the kind of beer it was.
That would be interesting.
If it was on the sour side, there is the chance that, they stuffed fabric in the top of it. So the chances are that they did introduce some stuff that over time would have made it funky. So I don't know what effect that would have on gas chromatography or whatever that is. So I'm sure they're going to find souring compounds to it because of whatever they did in the jar. But that's going to be a very interesting liquid to study, just to see, this is what happens with advanced time and, biological compounds and fermentation and all that kind of thing. So very cool stuff. Yeah,
it is. Yeah. I love that kind of stuff. And Brian, more ancient beer stuff. We found out that we collectively as the human race found out that ancient Nubians drank beer with antibiotics.
Yeah, it's crazy. So if you think antibiotics are a miracle of the modern-ish 20th century medicine, you might be surprised to hear what they were up to 2,000 years ago in Africa. It turns out that ancient Nubians were ingesting big doses of antibiotics in their beer. This wasn't a special treatment for sick adults. It was just about everybody in the community drank this antibiotic-laced beer regularly. The author of the study says that given the amount of tetracycline there, they had to know what they were doing. And he also says that they may not have known what tetracycline was, but they certainly knew something was making them feel better about the beer. So the discovery was a total accident. The anthropologist involved dug up some mummies back in, I guess the original anthropologist, I'm not sure if he's still around, but he dug up some mummies back in 1963 to study ancient osteoporosis, which is kind of like bone wasting or whatever it is, anyway, he wasn't looking for ancient pharmacology. He didn't think anything about that. But when he looked at the bone samples under ultraviolet light, they glowed with a signature of tetracycline, which is a drug that modern scientists didn't patent until 1950. His findings were officially published back in 1980. You're thinking, hold on, this isn't new news, but everyone, thought at the time the bones were just contaminated by the modern world and things around it. So, probably in the lab or whatever. In this new study, they sought to prove the critics wrong by actually dissolving ancient bone samples and extracting the compound from them, proving that that was actually in the bones. And it turns out, yes, it is actually in the bones. This wasn't a contamination situation. So that the new thing is the proof of this. So the Nubians probably didn't have a problem with acne. The amount they were taking with their beer was higher than the amount commonly prescribed today for controlling infections and bad acne. So their skin was probably amazing. And so the Nubians, if you don't know, and I actually didn't know exactly where they were from, but they lived along the Nile River in Sudanese Nubia, which is an area that crosses modern day borders of Egypt and Sudan. So that's pretty interesting. How on earth did they find this? I'm like, is it a fluke? And they just like, you know what? Whatever's in this beverage, we need to make more of it. So they found a way to preserve it. Yeah.
I drank this and now I felt better. I drank this and it cleared up my skin, whatever the reason may be. Now, one thing I wonder, was it taken as a treatment rather than an everyday beverage? And the reason I say that, if they were chugging antibiotics on the daily, boy, that would, could get you messed up. I guess it depends on the strength that they had there and that, because I know I had a wound on my leg get infected. I actually ended up in the hospital a couple years ago, and they just pumped me full of antibiotics, and I was REKT for a while when I got out of there.
REKT, yes.
Yeah, it messes with the system. Got to get you back in balance there. But I guess maybe low dosage.
I don't know how they know this for a fact, but they say it was just everybody drank it. So
interesting.
They claim that this was something that was common. Like I don't know how they could possibly know it. And if they're right, they're assuming that everybody was drinking this, and the amount in the beer was a significant dose. So these guys were, I guess, they were killing all the biotics in their system. I guess that's how that works. So
yeah,
but like I said, awesome skin.
Yeah, exactly. Clear skin and intestines. So,
that's right.
That's right.
Shiny, smooth intestines.
Yeah, I don't know the difference, in the antibiotics or what they do. Maybe it's not one that hits quite the same way there, but interesting stuff, man. Fascinating.
Probably not as refined. My guess is I don't know. I'm sure there's other stuff in there.
Intense and refined as when you take antibiotics in the hospital, it's like this is what they're giving you. They're giving you this antibiotic and they're dripping it into your veins and stuff. They really pump you up there. So, I'm sure that a good amount is a relative term,
True.
Yeah.
And these guys were probably taking antibiotics with biotics because there are other things in there that was fermenting the beer. Fair. So I'm guessing they're killing off stuff and also replacing it. So they're basically flushing out whatever's in their system and replacing it with beer fermentation.
Reset every day, man.
Honestly, maybe that's not a bad way to go. It's like, if we could nail the exact microbiome we need, we could put that in a beer, flush everything out, replace it. Boom. We're all amazing. So
circle of life there, man.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, some marketing fun here. We got Blue Moon is up to some shenanigans here, and Blue Moon is turning blue.
Yeah. So I kind of hate this article, but they're exploiting one of the most annoying popular marketing gimmicks these days. Blue Moon has issued a formal apology on behalf of the moon. Yes, the glowing orb you see at night, that thing they're apologizing formally for it in a press release. They say the moon owes you an apology for not actually turning blue during the upcoming blue moon. A blue moon, by the way, in case you didn't know. And I had to look it up to see what the heck it was myself. But it's the second full moon to occur during a single calendar month, which is fairly uncommon. And we have one happening later this month, the very end of the month here. To correct the situation, Blue Moon is launching a temporary blue version of its beer at select bars across the country. Nothing about the recipe is changing. It's still their Belgian white. It's just been doused with blue food coloring, I assume. I don't know what they put in it, but that's what I'm guessing. There's a very limited window of time to get a blue moon if you want one. The beers will be pouring this weekend only, ending on May 31st. So that's the last day you can get it, assuming they pour it all out. I assume these will go fast-ish. They have a dedicated webpage that will tell you which venues near you, and they're all over the country, will be pouring the Smurf juice and when they will be pouring it. So what they get wrong in their dumb apology press release here is that the moon does actually appear blue sometimes, but it's a pretty rare occurrence. It generally only is seen during specific atmospheric events like volcanic eruptions and large forest fires, that kind of thing, where the particles in the air scatter the red light. So it's possible somewhere out there, someone is going to see a blue moon during the blue moon. So maybe they should apologize to the moon for that. That's what I'm thinking.
Sorry, not sorry, Brian.
Yeah, probably. I'm sure that's what they're going to say because that would be the trendy thing.
And if you're any company, the fake apology marketing, they're terrible. Don't do those.
I hate those. I hate those.
The first person that ever did that, it was already played out. with the very first one.
Exactly.
So,
it was cringe the very moment it was
the
thought
very
of.
first one.
Yeah.
The very first one. So yeah,
terrible.
Just don't do that. Don't do it.
You ever have a blue beer, Tim?
So Brian, I think I may have tried the same one that you have, the Romulan ale.
Yes.
And the one thing I remember about it is I mean, probably no shocker here, but it's got a dye in it. There's a dye to make it blue, and it dyes the bottle blue. It dyes your glass blue. It dyes your mouth and your teeth blue. I mean, you if you don't mind being blue, it'll do it for you.
It's not easy being blue, Tim.
And I don't remember it being great either.
I have vague recollections of it being some like sweet macro lagerish type of thing.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. And I got the bottle. I drank it at some point. I have very little recollection of it. I went to rinse out the bottle. I'm like, because I rinse out any bottle I was going to keep. I realized it's a clear bottle. It's not blue. It's all the stain on it. And most of it ran out. And I'm like, oh, the only thing that I really wanted to keep it for, it's gone. So I think I might still have the bottle somewhere on a dusty shelf. But yeah, I'd forgotten all about this until the blue moon story. So
the blue moon thing. I don't know, man. That's something. I wonder if our friends at Terrapin Brewing that had the brew pub at Truist Park here, the Battery, where the Braves play. When they were purchased, that became a Blue Moon.
That's
Blue
right.
Moon
It did. I forgot about that. Yeah.
So I wonder if I've never been there since it became Blue Moon. And
although they have to have one, I'm sure they have.
I would think they would. I would think if it's a Blue Moon branded brew pub that they're going to take part in the blue beer thing. It would be a huge disappointment if they didn't.
It would be. It'd be bizarre. Like, you guys really? You don't have this? What are you doing?
Maybe we can go see what's up. Maybe we can go see it. I think this is stupid, ridiculous. I hate it, but I drink one. I'm going to check it out.
Yeah,
I like cheesy. I'll be honest. I like cheesy marketing.
This is really all about getting people to take pictures of it, and I would probably fall for it and take a picture of it and put it out there somewhere.
Yeah.
And to be heckled basically on Twitter for being an idiot, but I would still do it. Yeah.
Congratulations, Blue Moon. Your cringe worked. We're going to do that. So
I share in the cringing.
Gosh. Well, y'all, that about wraps up for our show this week. Thank you again for hanging out with us. We always appreciate it. If you enjoy what we are doing here, we would love for you to tell a friend to tune in, check out the show, and subscribe. If you really enjoy what we're doing, then jump on over to patreon.com/beerguys. You can get it for less than the cost of a pint of beer a month, Brian.
A blue moon, a blue moon.
Yeah. So you can support the show, and we'll get you some cool swag out. We'll get you in our Discord server to talk about this and that and everything. And you'll also get a weekly invite to our after party. So, but with all that said, we hope that you have a really good week, and don't forget to drink local. Cheers.